Luis Molina, Valentina Reggie.
You've seen Hollywood portrayals of South American prisons, shadowy cells, harsh language, standard images of abusive guards and habitual felons thrown together in stark living conditions. Unfortunately, some of these things reflect the truth. Venezuelan prisons are some of the worst prisons in the world. Year after year, they are cited by human rights groups for indecent facilities and inhumane treatment of inmates. Riots, malnutrition, and incidents of extreme violence lead to deaths in every facility. But Hollywood stories are full of shallow characters, fictional caricatures barely resembling the human beings who inhabit the world of prison reality. For 21 days, the makers of this film were granted unrestricted access to real prisoners, guards and administrators in a real prison in Merida, Venezuela, a prison known as Paradise. On the outside, this prison is not very different from prisons in many other parts of the world. A high razor-wired fence keeps prisoners inside a facility built to hold 750 inmates. Area prisons, like most South American prisons, have been plagued with overcrowding, and this facility is currently full. A single wall over 20 feet high separates male and female prisoners. Children are allowed to stay with their mothers inside the women's facility until the age of 7. They go to daycare during the weekdays and stay with their mothers during the evenings and weekends. On occasion, entire families are incarcerated, mothers, fathers, and children. Visitation is allowed every weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, and families are encouraged to supply the inmates with food and clean clothing weekly. 2 sets of guards oversee the prison population. Armed National Guard members focus on the perimeter of the facility, while unarmed hired guards take care of the day-to-day operations inside. The people inside are typically poor. Most have no money for proper legal representation.
For
the most part, inmates are from poor families. Powerful people don't exist in prison, and those with economic resources are very, very few. But families comfort the inmates with what they have. There is a great effort among families to support the inmates. They do so much to get the inmates out of here.
This new Merida facility, which opened in 1997, took 17 years to complete. Although it replaced an extremely decrepit building in town, the new prison is already falling apart in a number of places. Because the political climate of the early 1990s has been one of openness to new ideas, the prison's director has been free to establish unprecedented reforms. Education, literacy training, and other programs, like one allowing inmates to create wood sculptures and sell them for profit in town, are now a regular part of life in the Merida prison. Such reforms have made life in the prison more humane and have earned praise from the international community.
The Merida jail management has been supported by an internal control system established by the director, security staff, and administrators based on communication. This communication controls the entire facility. The director has been able to break down barriers and establish trust between prisoners and staff so they can work together. This has resulted in a very peaceful prison in an international context, and has resulted in a particularly good prison.
With the Colombian border nearby, a large percentage of the people in this prison are here for drug trafficking, drug use, or crimes associated with drugs, such as prostitution. A poor family will find any means to exist, and in some towns, drugs are the only way to survive. In this area of the world, the family is so tightly knit a paternal drug business turns quickly into a family affair.
It's mainly in the narcotic traffic cases that whole families get into prison. The one that sends the woman to prison is the man, because the men use the women to carry the drugs. The men and the women get in prison, and the women bring along the kids. One's just born, and one's between 2 and 3 years. Once these people are in jail with their kids, they must be given care, and then we are under obligation to put them into daycare and take care of them.
Inmates spend their days talking and cleaning. They work on wood projects and sometimes fix the prison fences that are falling down. They can make appointments in the dentist office or go to school or church daily, but basically they are waiting for visitation day. Inmates are allowed visitors each weekend. Mothers, daughters, sons, uncles, and fathers take the bus from across the region. They bring food and smiles, and together they picnic on the ground inside the facility.
Yo me llamo Iberia Carvajal de Villamizar. Mi esposo se llama Villamizar. Tengo 6 hijos.
My name is Isvelia Carvajal de Villamizar.
Tengo 6
My husband is Mr. Villamizar. I have 6 kids. They are all men. I have 6 daughters-in-law and 16 grandkids. What else can I say? I feel bad because my son is here in jail. I wish I could have him at home like before. I have to be patient, to hold back my feelings. I have to accept seeing him each 15 days and bringing him food. We come from San Cristobal and we start our trip at 3 in the morning.
Who is the cake for?
I send it to my husband at the men's facility, and he sent a piece back to me.
Will you spend Father's Day with him?
I don't know. If they let me, I'll go. Do you want some?
Y extraña mucho a su hijo.
Sí, mi amor.
Le hace mucha falta.
Do you miss your son a lot?
Oh, yes.
Are you here to visit him for Father's Day?
Yes.
Do you always come to visit him?
Every Sunday I come, no matter what, because missing him gives me great pain.
He used to live with you?
Yes, he did.
He left a great hole in the family?
Yes. If I have money to give him or not, I come to visit him.
How long has he been here?
3 years.
And you have been visiting him for 3 years then?
Yes, every Sunday. But since I don't have any money, I can't get him out of prison.
All I want to do is take her with me, to take her away from here. I miss her a lot. I've loved her so much all my life. And their mom, I loved her a lot. Her mom was a very good woman.
On visitation day, spirits are generally high as families reunite. Pool games spring up, children laugh and play, and many festivals take place everywhere. But sometimes the atmosphere is only a sad reminder to those who have no family nearby.
Nobody visits us today. We are here and nobody visits us. When you're in the lockup, your family goes away from you and you have to deal with it. Do you have any kids? Yes, we have. Nobody sent them to us today, you know. You have to have strength inside so that by the time you're out, you can take care of your kids.
People from other countries have little hope for any visitors or even contact with their families. Phone calls are expensive and the mail system is unreliable.
I've lived a very lonely life. I had my girl from a rape, and since she was 1 year old, my family didn't even want to see me. There's this Colombian woman. I spend most of the time with her. We spend lunch and breakfast with her. We pray a little bit until they lock us up. Whatever little moments we have together, we stay together. We talk.
At this time, I don't know because it has been 5 years practically and I haven't seen her. She left the two kids with their grandmother, her mom, my mother-in-law, who is sick in bed. I don't know if she is sick or not. I haven't heard from her. I'm here in this country with no way out of here. It's a dead end, you know. People from other countries here in Venezuela, sometimes they are good, sometimes not too bad, and sometimes, like me, some do good, and some just can't work. It's a dead end.
La familia de uno sufre igual, yo creo que está peor que uno. Sufre en carne viva porque son ya dos cosas que están presas, ellos y uno.
They suffer more than we do for the simple reason that we suffer, and they suffer when they have to visit us.
Pero ellos sufren, yo creo que más que uno por el simple hecho de el sufrimiento de uno y el sufrimiento de ellos, por lo menos cuando ellos llegan a visitarlo a uno, que lo ven prisionero.
I get real sad because when my mom leaves from visitation, she'd like to take me with her. We lived together many, many years. She has suffered a lot, just like my brothers.
Ella ha sufrido mucho, igual que mis hermanos, ¿no? Mis hermanos también.
When my brothers come over to visit me, they leave crying because they say, "This isn't my world. I don't belong here. I fell into this world because of drugs."
Because of the diverse population, there is no typical family with a typical story. Every person incarcerated is different. Although criminologists can categorize people by their income or their crime, the individual stories are more telling. An example is the Garcia family.
Bueno, nosotros por lo menos tenemos un caso aquí muy particular.
We have a case, very peculiar. We have a whole family. We have the mom who was caught dealing drugs, and then the son came in, plus the girl who used to live with him. So we have the whole family.
La chica que convivía con el hijo, y tenemos toda la familia aquí.
The Garcia family has been in and out of prison for a while. The mother, who was the ringleader selling drugs out of their family-run hotel, used her son and daughters as workers and were arrested. They visit each other every weekend.
Do you keep in touch with your mom? Very little. It's hard to get permission to say hi, to see her, to get her a soda, you know? Could you? No, I couldn't. The guard says, "Who told you to carry the drugs with you?" They just don't know the real story. Do you have a girlfriend? Yes, of course. Here at the women's facility? Yes. I met her as a prisoner. I've known her for 3 years. We are planning to marry. I don't care that she is in prison, because in the end, I'll live through this experience. She's a very nice girl, but nobody visits her. She has 2 kids.
Because of the proximity of the women's and men's facilities, many relationships thrive or even blossom despite incarceration.
He cooks for me, and I wash. I send him his clean clothes, and he sends me food.
But with a lot of love. We haven't lost any love, even though we are behind bars. Excuse me, sir, but I want to ask her right now, in front of you, who are serious people. I am now a serious person too, you know. Do you love me as I love you?
Yes.
What do you think about our plan to get married? Do you agree?
Yes.
That is what I wanted to know. And I wanted to show you, because I was some crazy screwed up guy, and I got in trouble, but I have value, and I have feelings for someone. Every 8 days we talk like we are right now, and the rest we write, if we need to communicate during the
We
week.
write little letters because I haven't learned to do the signs yet.
There is a place near a wall where the women inmates can see the men's facilities. Here, an interesting form of communication takes place. The inmates cannot speak or shout the distance between, so they have created a clever form of sign language.
You see, like this.
This is love. I love you. It's a hug, a kiss. See?
Cultural rules apply to this form of communication. For example, a male is not permitted to speak to a married woman for any reason.
Well, this is, I want you to look for this woman for me. And we go and look for her. If we see that she has a husband, you have to get permission to talk to her, so the husband talks to her for you. Sometimes she gets up there and she is waiting for me, but I forgot the date. And when I remember our date, I see the time and I run to the wall to find her.
As in any relationship, tensions must be expressed. However, this can be difficult at times.
Sometimes I fight with her, and after that I fall in bed. I can't sleep. I see her picture. I'm just waiting for the sunrise to go to her. I don't eat breakfast. I run to the wall and I call her.
Periodically, couples change signs to stop eavesdropping by other prisoners and administrators. Despite having a prison sentence, married couples and those in budding relationships may have a conjugal visit once a week. Couples pay to have a place for 3 hours every week for an intimate visit. The women pay about 50 cents per month and are restricted to one partner and must take birth control pills to prevent pregnancy.
Nosotros tenemos un edificio, me gustaría que lo vieran. Lo estamos arreglando el edificio.
We have a building. I would like you to see it. We are fixing it up. I am the one in charge of the rooms.
Ellos pagan 300 bolívares por ir al mes, todo el mes a cámara.
They pay 300 bolivianes to go 4 times a month. Once a week they go to rooms.
4 veces al mes van ellos a cámara. Ahorita, por cierto,
We could fix up the rooms. I bought 5-cent curtains, but when I got back from vacation, they had stolen the curtains and the rods. That broke my heart.
Given the opportunity, desires spring forth and some odd requests are made.
A mí me ha pasado unos shows. En estos días vino una señora.
One day I had an old lady, like 55 years old. She came to a room with a gentleman. I asked her, "Aren't you married?" She says, "No, I am not married."
Doñita, disculpe, pero usted no es casada. Me dijo, no, yo no soy casada. En la cédula, a máquina le había puesto
She gives her
soltera.
identification and photocopies it and writes in unmarried. I was paying attention, so I asked the guard and he says, "She is married."
No, yo no soy casada. Yo me dice que le estaba enviando el ya, un momentico, ya vengo. Me levanto.
I came back and asked her in confidence, "Aren't you married?"
Por favor, revíseme
She
la
says,
cédula de esta
"No, I'm
señora".
not.
Dice, sí, ella es casada. ¿Qué dice casada? La original. Mire, yo me regresé
But
para
you
acá.
know, when one has so much time in this job, one has intuition about what inmates do.
¿Estás casada? No, yo soy soltera.
Then I told her, "You are married. I looked on your original ID and I saw you are married."
Que a uno le da. Gracias a Dios yo pregunté, ¿usted es casada?
She said, "Well, I am married, but I want so much to be with this boy."
Casada, pero que yo quiero estar con este muchacho.
I said to her,
Lo
"I'm
siento y
sorry."
lo lamento.
Sí, he tenido problemas.
During interviews, the prisoners and administrators tell their stories freely. Inmates tell how they got caught, they tell of their innocence, they speak openly about the conditions inside and on the streets. Everyone is aware of underlying problems within the jail, mostly problems of drugs and violence. Illegal activity seems widely known by all.
Hay internos que me han dicho que aquí consumen más drogas.
Somebody told me they use more drugs in here than on the streets. They sat here and they told me, I used to use on the streets, but not like here. That is a very delicate subject.
A veces a veces yo duro 3, 4 meses sin consumir.
Sometimes I go 3 or 4 months without using it, but then the hardest thing is when a friend of yours comes along and says, let's smoke a joint, you know, let's go there. And then I can't manage to say no.
Entonces no tengo ¿cómo te digo? El dominio propio.
Maybe because I've been here for a long time, and I've seen my pals go in and out of here time and time again, and then they come back, and I'm still here.
Sí, aquí hay internos que de alguna manera.
There are some inmates who somehow, in a very confidential way, because it is very risky for them. They tell me in this building, for example, there's 2 inmates carrying drugs with them. For me to get into that is very touchy, because control of the drugs has to start from the guards, from the director and National Guards. I know this because the inmates said to me that the drug traffic typically is associated with family visitation, and this is not true. These drugs arrive through the guards to the inmates.
Con esta nueva institución, esta nueva cárcel, a nosotros se
We
nos
have problems
absorbió un
with this
grupo,
new
un sector
facility.
de soldados.
We were given a group of military soldiers,
Y
ex-reservists.
se nos dio como de inducción un día, 2 días, 3 días.
We were given
para
3
preparar
days
ese
to prepare
personal
the staff.
Y nos los lanzaron.
This was very delicate.
Yo pienso que eso fue muy delicado, muy delicado porque desgraciadamente
Some of these guards
hubo
were
muchas
previously
personas
inmates
que
who
se
became
convirtieron en
guards.
funcionarios,
They
que
were
eran altos
dangerous
delincuentes,
criminals.
y de hecho ya hemos detectado varios de
At
ellos,
times we have caught them
personas
bringing
pasando
drugs and
drogas al
weapons
interior de la
inside the
cárcel,
facility.
pasando armamento al interior de la cárcel.
Other problems plague the system. Until recently, 70% of prisoners had been tried but not yet sentenced. These people were sometimes incarcerated awaiting sentences for longer than the maximum sentence for their crime. With this type of inefficiency in the justice system, there is little hope for an inmate to be set free at any time. Frustration leads to anger and aggression and usually ends in violence. There are monthly riots in the prison. During the riots, escalated violence is met with more violence from the armed National Guards. When the dust clears, usually an inmate or a guard has been killed. Between these violent uproars are daily incidents of criminal violence. The inmates form knives out of anything they can and use them on enemies.
Sí, he tenido problemas que me ha tocado que brincar por cama.
I've had some fights. I had to jump from bed to bed and break TVs and bite them, but they haven't touched me in spite of all that. I fought with a knife with a couple of partners and sent them to the hospital. I stabbed a couple of them, one in the leg and one in the back. But the hardest fight I ever had was with drugs.
Sometimes the only respite from the violence is solitary confinement. Solitary, which is used for punishment in typical U.S. prisons, is protective custody in this prison. Inmates request or are assigned to solitary to keep them safe from those who would kill them. Violence leads to regular visits to the hospital, or, in the worst case, to the morgue. On average, 2 every month in this facility. Many more are sent to the new on-site infirmary. But with the on-site hospital, there is less public documentation to show when a prisoner is harmed.
El nuevo establecimiento presta servicios hospitalarios, tiene unas instalaciones en muy
The
buenas
new
condiciones.
facility gives medical care to inmates. It has good supplies, a good operating room, and because of this, any injured inmate who is involved in a violent event doesn't need to go out of the facility to receive medical cares. The situation makes the new jail appear to be less violent than the old one, but it is not necessarily true. It just looks like this because there are less violent events known to the outside. Administrators don't need to make reports if the hurt inmate doesn't go out of the facility. And then the jail looks like a no-violent facility because they only report those cases where major violence occurs.
Issues such as these hold back efforts to reform the prison or the prison system. No combination of laws or guards or prisoners can make up a decent rehabilitation system with the amount of drugs and violence here. The rate of second offenses is nearly 90%.
Bueno, hasta el momento pues he tratado de sobrellevar las situaciones. He tratado de superarme, pero correctamente.
Until now, I've tried to get over it, to live my life the right way, the legal way. But always still, my friends on the streets are people who just got out of jail, and very few of them are professors and doctors that I met here. Most are just inmates and a family of inmates, and that's who you relate to now that you are one of them. What a prisoner teaches you is illegal business, and sometimes, in some situations, they make you commit crimes.
One of the more controversial issues at this prison is the housing of children within the prison walls. Children under the age of 7 may live with their mothers in the prison while she's serving her sentence. Inside, the kids have daytime schooling with a good atmosphere for learning. They live in the cells during the evenings and on weekends. Different people have different opinions about this practice. One side feels a child is always better off with its mother. The other side protests that the children are learning socialization from criminals.
Lo quiero mucho. Estoy dispuesto a luchar por él hasta que sea grande.
Do you consider this kid your kid? Yes, sure, I love him a lot. I'm willing to protect him until he's old enough to defend himself. Do you feel good about her having her kid inside? Yeah, he's better here because they have daycare and he learns good manners. He's reading. They are good women, the ones that take care of him. Of course he's better here.
Bueno, yo tengo mi madre que la tengo todavía en vida.
I have my mom. She is still alive. She is very poor. She doesn't have a way to visit me. So I had to bring him with me. I can't leave him with Mom because I was the only one to help her, and I'm here. I have some other brothers, but I don't count on them to bring food or anything. And they can't give anything to my mom, and my father is dead.
So, is he better off here?
Yes, sometimes people don't understand. They say, oh, those kids. But being here is better. We're disheartened because we are with the kids only from Monday through Friday. The daycare is a different environment, and the children perceive it. You can sense it. They love us a lot, and we have a strong hand over them. We give them discipline. Do not think everything here is very easy. No, we give them serious rules and discipline. The biggest problem is education. Mothers have no education, and then there are a lot of problems in the treatment the inmates give their kids. And sometimes the kids start to copy the behavior patterns of the parents. So we found problems at the daycare. The teachers come to us and we cooperate with them. They have some kids with behavior problems, sometimes sexual issues, for example.
The children are in adult care nearly all the time, but it is difficult to trust the adult who at one time was a prostitute, a drug dealer, or a murderer. Normal adult values are not necessarily present.
Los lunes tenemos un problemita muy serio. Ellos llegan agresivos. Llegan porque abajo sus mamás no los atienden.
We have a little problem on Mondays. When they get here, they are aggressive because in the women's facility, they don't take care of them. As a matter of fact, the other teacher will say the same thing. They get here aggressive, they don't want to work, they don't listen, they don't obey, they are hungry and sleepy. When nap time comes, they just fall asleep right away because over the weekend they live like inmates. They live the same routine. They go to bed between 1 and 3 in the morning. They eat when mom wants to feed them. As a matter of fact, we have a problem with scabies because the moms don't care for them. Well, a while ago, down at the women's facility, an inmate got a kid naked. Is this going to be shown on TV? Because I feel like it is very tough stuff. She got him naked and got another girl naked, and she wanted the two kids to do some, things.
Issues like these plague social workers within the prison. Punishment of the mother is the only recourse, but how do you punish the mother without hurting the child further? What is the best for this child? What is an alternative to the sexual or physical abuse? There is no single answer. Finding an alternative to incarceration usually leaves the child with an invalid grandmother or an alcoholic uncle or father, or in INAM, the Juvenile Detention Center, where Merida prison children go when they reach the age of 7.
How old are your children?
One is 3 and the other 4.5 years.
How long have they been with their uncle?
2.5 months.
Were they here before?
Right here with me. I thought about it, and I thought I would rather have them on the streets, where they might go to regular school, and they will not learn the things you learn in prison. It is terrible, the scenes I've witnessed of kids inside a playpen, inside a prison. They are doubly incarcerated. They are paying a sentence that doesn't belong to them, because a prison is not the place that a child can grow the best, especially if the kid could be with his family.
It
is like what the Greek philosopher says. It's a tragic fate. They are assigned a bloody fate while incarcerated with their mothers, who are doing a prison sentence. The kids are starting out their lives with a background in prisonalization while not being an adult. What this means is that prisonalization is an adult socialization process. And kids are getting it at an age when they should be getting earlier socialization. The mother who has her kid with her in jail typically is a marginal woman. If she has a family, the kid will go with the family of the mother. And what are the conditions? That kid will be sent to ask for money on the streets, to get drugs, to learn being a thief. What is the fate of that little creature? None. And what is the other fate? The ENOM, a continuation of reclusion? What are the characteristics of ENOM? The same as in prison, and an adult prison. I see that's reality. It's an absolutely tragic fate. It's a dead end. And when that kid gets out of his mother's arms at age 6 or 7, he's going to have a big stigma, as big a stigma as any person who has been incarcerated as an inmate.
Prisons are a necessary evil in this society. Nobody thinks prisons are a solution to crime. They are simply a way of keeping criminals away from the public. The Merida prison is an example of a prison in reformation. The newly formed Penal Code of Venezuela is just now being tested and challenged. A prison like Merida is a step in the direction of a more humane prison system, but time spent here surely falls short of a rehabilitating sentence. Drugs, violence, and a lack of hope fuel a criminal cycle that started long ago. Yet here the family unit is held together, and the essence of human kindness seems to live within these walls. The The living conditions are sometimes better than those of the inmates' homes. And that's why, for now, this prison is called Paradise.